I think if we look at HR and procurement teams within most organizations, they're generally pretty lean. They're generally pretty stretched. They've got a lot of different responsibilities. There's often some kind of crossover. Obviously, tech can be very useful in helping make that more efficient and scalable. But I think when you look at the lines of responsibility of resourcing versus recruiting versus talent acquisition, they're not the same, are they? In terms of how those things are split up and how they can be kind of brought together, how do you see, what do you see as potential ways for organizations to kind of map that out successfully? So these things are being dealt with in their individual nature, but also being centrally used to drive the business forward.
Yeah, I mean, you made some great points there. I think just to kind of underline one of them, I think in reflecting before, speaking today about my own experience, I think having a very clear purpose that the organization's trying to hit is probably the thing that gave more impetus than just a general, as you pointed out, here's a bunch of normal targets that every business has to achieve. Whereas if you've got a very focused CEO on a very single focused target that drives into how you spend your money, 85% of costs was people in that business. So inevitably getting a hold of that was really important. So I think just to underpin that point, because I think you make a very good point. I think generally speaking, I think the way that the functions come together is really important. I think one of the characters needs to be strong and then pull in everybody else. So, if you've got a, particularly strong commercial HR lead, then they can pull in your procurement, your finance, your operational resource, etc., to kind of bring that single version of what you're trying to achieve. I think in terms of the broader point that you raise, I do oscillate on this one a wee bit. I think you make a very good point about whether HR people, well, you inferred it, you didn't make the point. Do HR people really want to be running around writing job descriptions for the business because the business can't really be bothered to do so? Well, no. And is a job description or a job requisition fundamental to part of the strategic resourcing journey? Absolutely. And I've seen too many organizations, not just the ones I've kind of occupied myself, but the ones I've consulted with. Many organizations just struggle with, well, whose accountability is it in the first place to even name the resource requirement, never mind about then who's leading on filling it. I do believe that your HR function, even by becoming talent acquisition, not resourcing, or in the US staffing, that is one aspect of resourcing. And I think the HR function has really focused in on, by specializing ever more and ever more, talent acquisition is really about hiring talent from the market. The clue's in the word acquisition. Talent management is having a better feel for the skills you've got today and growing those skills, usually by learning and development interventions. But nobody in the HR function really has got the holistic view other than the chief people officer. And the chief people officer is then looking within their function to say, who can I ask to lead out on this? Because it's talent acquisition, it's talent management, it's some business partner activity in terms of defining the need in the first place. It's your operational activity that supports fulfillment of particularly talent acquisition. So it's just a bit messy. And I think to date, the technology that's been deployed to try and help solve this problem has been fairly limited. And even your cloud-based kind of fourth generation, actually a lot better HR technology products like Workday, like SuccessFactors, even Oracle Fusion and others, they're all trying to effectively get the engine room of HR data a lot cleaner. And then you can plug and play or build on the modules that you need. That all said, strategic workforce planning is still not solved for with those technology suites. You then need to look into the market or look to other solutions to bolt on, to pull the resource from your HR data, pull the resource probably from a procurement system or two, in terms of consultants and contractors and third parties, and of course try and work with the finance function to try and look at how budget then relates to, if we spend this dollar on permanent resource or this dollar on contractor or this dollar on consulting, how does that look in the round? And I haven't yet seen organizations get that right, and that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just, I think, as we're coming out of the pandemic, to your point, the opportunity is now for organizations, particularly as many organizations will have very tight financial circumstances, then I think it's an absolute business necessity. And going back to the first point that we both said, if you've got a clear business necessity, then it should happen.